Now that we have created our grid, it's time to start our pastiche. So the image on our screen is what we'll be creating a pastiche of. So how we use the grid to copy this image is every square that we have is supposed to match up to a square on the original image. Now we can see that it has 7 going up and 5 going across, just like our grid. So I would like to start my drawing from in the center. So I'm going to start where the nose and mouth is. So where the two colors meet, the red and the yellow, and the nose and the mouth are located. And I'm going to count on my image. I'm going to look, and it's 1, 2, 3 squares across. So it would be 1, 2, 3 across on my grid, and 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So 3 across and 4 up. So the nose and lips are located somewhere in this circle. So I'm going to look at the image that I have, and I recognize that the nose starts about a little bit over halfway from the bottom of the square, and about halfway over from the left side of the square. So I'm going to place a little dot to help guide me so I can kind of understand where it is. And I notice that the nose comes over a bit to about here. It's almost as if you separated this square into 4 sections. The nose starts in the center and comes over to the middle point between the 3rd and the 4th section. So I placed 2 dots there. So that means the bottom of the nose would go from here to here. And I look again, and the top of the nose is on an angle, and it comes over from here to about, maybe not that deep. Remember, you can rub out. This is why we use pencil. You can rub out and change. So it's on an angle, but it's not too deep. So then it ends up being about halfway between this point and this point up here, and it touches this line. So then I'm going to match that up on my paper. So I'm already starting to draw the nose, and below the nose we have the top lip and the bottom lip. So I notice that it's a curved line. It doesn't come all the way over here. It almost lines up with this line here. So I'm putting very faint guidelines on the paper to help me understand where the things are located. So it touches about here, somewhere here. The lips end down here though. So they end here. I can see that. So I'm placing a little dot. It ends somewhere along here, close to this line, but not touching it. Same for the top lip, but that one comes over a bit. So then I place these dots to symbolize where each part of the lip is, and I just kind of connect them with my pencil. So the top lip curves over and comes and curves back here and comes down like this. So we already start to get that nose and the top and bottom lips. So that bottom lip comes over in this square a little bit, but not too much. So I'm just trying to match up what I see on the image match up what my paper to what I see on the image. So I don't like how far that goes down, because I don't think it matches it exactly. Then I'm going to come over for the chin. And I notice the chin stops somewhere here. So I'm just going to create a line like this. So the point is, we're copying what we see on the picture, but we're doing it 1 square at a time. So I notice in this square over here, which is 1, 2 across and 1, 2 across and 1, 2, 3 up, that this part of the chin and the jaw only comes over about here. And we're matching it up with what we have in the square beside it, and we just keep following that. So I am looking and I am matching. So we have the jaw and the nose and the lips. So I'm going to come back over here now and continue on the nose. I notice that the nose takes up a large portion of this square right here, and the top of it ends somewhere here. It's close to it's close to this line, but not as close to this line. So coming over here, place a little dot. I think that's where it stops, or what I see that it stops. So I connect this point with the line that we already have for the nose. So then I create that diagonal line, and now we have the full nose. And from there, there's another line that goes in this direction that borders the yellow color and the red color. Now I'm going to look at that line, and it passes through this circle that we're working in, the circle, sorry, this square that we're working in, this square on top of it, and the square over here as well. And it stops somewhere, like if I were to split this square into 4 sections, like this, 4 equal sections, 1, 2, 3, 4. The line separating the red and the yellow ends somewhere about here. So close to both of these lines. So then I am going to say, I place this dot here, I have this dot here, and there's a straight line between them. So I'm just going to connect that straight line, making sure it passes through all of the squares like I see on the original image. And similarly, there's another straight line down here that connects to the ear and separates the black from the yellow. Now the ear is between these 2 squares, and it's separated about halfway. So the halfway point of this square would be about here, and the halfway would be about here. So that means the bottom of the ear starts here and the top of it ends here. And we notice that the square is a little bit away from this line, so we're going to try to keep it away. And it curves in like this, and we match it up. So now we have the ear. And then from where the ear stops right here, we know that this dot here is connected to this dot using a straight line. So I'm just going to create that line by connecting those dots. So we already know just blocked in this side of the face. And now I'm going to do the eye in this section to finish up this side of the face. So the eye falls between these 2 squares, but it's mostly in this one and not in this. And about halfway up from the bottom of this is where the corner of the eye is, and it's very close to this line. So I'd say the corner of the eye starts about there, and the other corner ends close to this diagonal line that we created. So it would be somewhere a little bit below half. So this would be the halfway point at this square, and it falls a little bit below that halfway point here. So then I'm going to just connect these with using curved lines, and voila, we have an eye. You can add your eyelashes and add what we call the pupil, which is in this box only. It doesn't reach over to this box. So we add in the pupil here, and we're leaving that little white space, or what we call a catch light, in the eye. And you can just fill that in as a guide. So boom, we have the eye. And the eyebrow is right on top of it. You don't need necessarily to measure as much, because you know right on top of the eye, the eyebrow is, and it's not touching any of these other lines that we created. So we have the first half of the face. And I'm going to go down now and notice that the earring is right here, and it goes all the way down into this square with the last circle and the earring in this square. So I use that as a guide to create the other 3 circles for the earring. So there I have this side of the face along with the earring. And just like we were doing over here, we just continue on the other side. So I look what's in the square on the original image, and I just copy it on in my squares. So I'm going to do the other eye, which falls in this square right here, and it takes up almost the whole width of this square. So it's close to this edge right here, and it lines up with this corner that we made. So it's somewhere, it starts somewhere about there, and it comes over kind of close to this line, but not as close as over here. So it's about this far from this line. And I'll add curved lines to connect them and create the eye. And this eye has a little bag underneath it, which is fairly close to it. So we just look at that and copy it. We add the pupil and the white space, or what we call a catch light. And I'm just going to shade in the dark part. Once again, add in the eyebrow. Now this eyebrow, I notice, touches this line. So I'm going to make sure that this end of my eyebrow is touching it. And this eyebrow is a little bushy, so you can put some lines there to signify the bushiness. And we'll continue. And so the head, the hair starts here and touches this line with a curve. And that curve carries over into this square and over into this one, but it does not go all the way to the edge, so it stops somewhere about there. And then another curved line comes from over here and connects to it. So I'm going to rub that out. I think it's a bit too high, so I'm going to rub that out and carry my line down a tad bit lower, my dot, sorry. Then I connect those using a curved line. And I do something similar for over here. So this section right here on the image, so that black section at the top where the hair is, it's separated from the other black section, which is going to be over here, with a gray section. And that forms like a triangle. So it starts here, goes over to here, and comes up till about here. So it touches this line and it's close to the top line. So I'm taking this point now and connecting them like so. So now I have a triangle. One easy way to make sure that you're doing it as closely as possible is to break down things into different shapes. It helps you understand where they're located and how to try and copy them. So we created this triangle right here. So this would be the gray section. And starting at this point of the triangle, the hair curves over and matches up to this line that we created. So it comes, it stays in this square, it goes over into this a bit and goes over into that one a bit too, and comes and matches up. And then we have another curved line around here for the hair, and it ends in the second. So 1, 2 going up and 1, 2 going across. So it ends somewhere about halfway. So this is me splitting this in half. So it's close to this line. And it's about halfway. So I'm placing a point. And at around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We see that the closest point of that curve is right where the 4 and the 5 line are. So it's close to it about to there. So I'm going to use these dots now as a guide. So starting from here, I'm going to create that curve. So then we have that curve for the hair. And right where this point is, we're going to do the neck now. So where one ends, you can connect it to something else and you create your drawing. So I'm just going to go through and draw this without the instructions, or without talking, and you'll see. So I'll do the neck and then I'll fast forward through the rest of it. So this dot here creates a straight line from here to right where the earrings are. So I'm going to do this, and now we have the whole here and half of the face blocked in. I'm going to move on to the other half of the face and do that without speaking. Okay, great. So now we have our image drawn in. So we have the yellow side. This is supposed to be the yellow side of the face. This is the yellow area of the neck, the shirt, and the background sections blocked in. Now for this, I am going to be using crayons, but you can use colored pencil, markers, or paint. So let's have a go. So I have my crayons out right now, and this section should be yellow, so I'll need my yellow crayon. This will be blue. Two sections will be blue. So I have my blue crayon, and I'll show you a trick to make the same shade of blue look different. So I also have red, and I have an orange section, and I also have a brown section as well as a black section. So these are all the colors I'll be needing. So it's best to start with the lightest color first. So we're going to start with our yellow section, and the last section we'll be doing is our black section. So before I do that, you're going to need to outline the drawing. So you can use your paint or you can use a marker. So I'm going to use a marker because we see on this painting there's a lot of black lines that they use to outline each part of the painting. So you start with pencil, you block in with marker or a black colored pencil or black paint. So I'm just going to trace over what I drew. Oh, I messed up there, but there's no messing up in art. Everything is a happy accident. Now before you trace over, you can use some time to double check everything and see if everything is where you'd want it to be, or if it's accurate to the painting. I also hope everybody following along was using pencil for the grid and to sketch out the painting, because after you place your outlines in marker or crayon or paint, you're supposed to erase those grid lines so they won't be a part of the artwork. Use a bigger one to fill in the pupils. Okay, so now we have our whole outline. At this time, like I said, you would be rubbing out your grid, but I did mine in marker, so you could be able to see it clearly. So I am going to start my yellow section, and let me rub out what I can on mine since I did the drawing in pencil. So I'm erasing those lines that are created to make sure that my work is neat and tidy. But don't rub too hard, and remember to hold down firmly on your paper so it does not crease or bend. Oh, I forgot this section underneath the eye, so just double check and go back and fix where you need to. So now I erased all of what my sketching lines are, what we call construction lines. So now I'm going to start adding color. And like I said, I'm using crayons. So in this painting, you notice that the white parts of the eye are actually filled in with yellow. That's how he decided to paint that. There's also yellow down here in the neck area underneath the chin. So I fill that in. Let me just get something to press on so I can make it smoother. So there we have our yellow section. And now we're going to move on to the part right here. Or no, we're going to do the brown first because we're doing in order of which colors could mess up another color. So I don't have the exact brown. My brown is a bit darker. So to make it seem closer to that brown, I'm going to color lightly. So for the yellow, I was really pressing down to get as bright a color as possible. But for my brown, or if you have a brown that's similar, you don't have to worry, you can just press down. But if your brown is darker, you can simply just lift it off the paper and don't press too heavily. So there I have my brown. So those are the only places that brown is on that paint, on this painting. So I'm going to add the red right now, which is in this section of the painting. So you can press down for the red to get it as bright as possible, because that's a very bright red. Trying to keep it within the lines that we created. Making sure not to get the red on the yellow section. So now I have my red section filled in. And when you're using paint, anything at all, you have to make sure that you're not touching the area that you just added color to, or rubbing it, because it might end up smudging and ruining your work. So if you're using crayon like me, you can shake it off if there's any little pieces. Don't rub it, because it will drag it all over your work. So now I'm moving on to the blue section. And we see that there are two different types of blue in it. This section here has a very dark blue, and these sections have a light blue. So in order to get that dark blue, I'm going to press very hard on my crayon if you only have one shade of blue. If you have multiple shades of blue, then just go ahead and use the two different types of blue. But for people who only have one, like myself, just press very hard on the surface to get the dark blue color. Remember to keep your hand, don't put your hand over it like that. Make sure that your hand is away from it so you don't smudge up your work. And then to get that light blue now, I'm going to press lightly on it. So we're still doing it, but barely pressing on it. Over here, we press very, very hard. Over here, we're just lightly dragging the crayon over the area so it looks lighter than that other section. And when you're coloring, try to keep everything in the same direction. So you see I'm going up and down here, and I keep going up and down. Don't go in circles or crisscross like this. If you're going up and down, stay up and down to keep it neat. So then now I'm going to turn my paper to make sure that I don't touch over here that I already do. So I'm keeping it neat and tidy, and I'm not smudging. Especially if you're using paint. So there we have, we're almost done. So now we just have the black sections, this little gray section here, and the orange section over here. So I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to do the black section first. And the reason I'm doing the black section is because if I do the orange first, my hand is going to touch the orange and drag it all over the work. So I'm going to do the black section So I'm pressing down. This is a trick. If you don't have a gray marker, we're going to do a similar trick like we did with the blue. Not gray marker, crayon, sorry. We're going to do a similar trick like we did with the blue. For the black sections, you press very hard with your crayon to get it as dark as possible. So here I'm just pressing down hard so the color comes out bright and deep. And then from there I'm going to go up to this section and repeat the same, pressing down firmly on the paper to make sure the black is very black. And for this gray section, I'll just lightly drag the black across it so it comes out lighter than these two sections, so it seems more gray than black. And we're almost done. So remember, if you're using crayon, dust it off, don't brush it off, or you can blow on it. So now we're going to do the orange section, which is the last section, and after we do that, we'll be finished. So I'm pressing down firmly because this is a very bright orange. So remember to try and do things in one direction to make sure that the color comes out even and neat. So you see I'm dragging my crayon in one direction. I'm going to come up here, holding down my paper so it doesn't move too much. Going up and down in one direction. And when I reach the edge here, because it's not as neat, maybe I can change the direction just for the edge. And voila! We have our own pastiche. So I hope this helps you create your own, and I hope to see everyone's work submitted next week. And that's that. This is our pastiche, and we're going to label it. Oh, I forgot that. So we're going to, after we rub out everything, we're going to have some space on the paper. So these should have been in pencil, all the lines should have been in pencil, and you rub everything out. So over this section, you're going to write your name. So I am Miss Bailey. So you put your first and last name. My class, can put any, I'll just put grade 8, and you put UM, whichever grade 8 you're in. And also, I'll write the topic, which is pastiche. Along with the name of the painting, which is Cubism. And when you're writing the name, you're going to put it in these little marks. So Cubism by Andy Ballentine. So there we go. Obviously right here is neater. It's kind of all over the place because I'm using a marker and I want to get it on the camera, but yours should definitely be neater. So that's the end of the video, and I'll see you all next class.